felt like it's taken us a little while to
Mute.
connect.
Yeah,
And it's kind of like once you know.
I'll mute you. Hello, morning, Sher. How are you? How are you?
Hey, good
Bean,
morning. How are
Bean.
you?
Hello. You there? Yeah, you're there. Good.
Yep, I'm here.
Brilliant. Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. Bean is all involved over there, so she'll probably come say hello in a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, what's she doing?
What's that?
I said, what's Beena up to?
Hello.
I think she's doing a column, right, Beena? That's what you're busy doing.
Yes. I'm just writing. Hello, Sher. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Just writing new moon text.
What's that? Oh, more text? Yeah.
The new moon text. Yeah.
Yes.
She does a column on the moons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what's up today. I just know that being these lawnmower people are gonna go around here pretty soon. I think most of the complex is ready to do battle with these guys, so. They just keep getting worse and worse, that's all. And that the smell is obnoxious. So it is what it is, you know? Are you there?
Say again?
Yes.
I lost
No.
the last part.
Yeah, no, I just said it is what it is.
Oh, yeah. It is. What can I say, right?
Yes.
It's just, you know, the smell gets nauseating. You get headaches from it because it's blowing gas, the fumes right into your living unit. So it gets headachy and you get nauseous and it's not healthy for anybody. So, you know, it's all right. I guess we just deal with it. It's the way the world is.
It's fascinating, you know, just the ability to deal with things and to let them be. It's very hard to let things be. People especially, very hard to let them be. Yeah.
Well, if it's affecting your health, your space, you know, I mean, that's a really good question to ask. How tolerant are we supposed to be?
Yes. And when is tolerance inappropriate?
Well, yeah, you know,
Sometimes
I
it
mean,
is. It's not always appropriate. There is such a thing as inappropriate tolerance, and there's also such a thing as appropriate intolerance. Yeah.
I think this is a situation of appropriate intolerance.
Very good.
Because it's not just disrupting me, it's disrupting everybody. Most of the people who are here anyways. You know, the noise, okay, we can put up with, but when it starts getting to the point where I don't know what they've done, they've changed their gas and oil mixture on their equipment, using cheaper gas, whatever it is, but it's really gotten to the point where, like this morning, I had to light, this is the second week in a row I've had to light incense in my house just to get rid of the gasoline smell. And you can't open up the windows because it just all permeates and comes in and sits inside. So, you know, because they're using gas-powered blowers and of course the mower and then gas-powered trimmers. And it's, like I said, the noise we can deal with, but when it starts getting that fume into the house and it starts affecting you, like giving you a nauseous headache, then it's like, nah, it's done. So I don't know. Somebody was talking about they're going to say something to the owners. It's like, well, I'm done talking to the owners.
Yeah, but you'll put your name on the list. Sign-ups. Brilliant. So is things sorted at least with your rent and all those things that they wanted to do?
Yeah, finally. There wasn't anything. Well, I mean, they really kind of hung themselves actually, and I'm surprised the attorney didn't even catch this. Of course, you know, that whenever they charged a late fee, they were charging 10% of what the rent is, right?
Yeah.
This is a part that nobody caught, but I did, so I was pretty proud of myself. The late fee, they were only charging me $92.50, 10% of the rent, right?
Yeah.
But they were saying my rent was $960.
Yeah.
How, you can't have it both ways. You can't charge me a reduced
Yep.
late fee.
Yeah.
Technically,
Yeah.
you were saying my rent was $9.25, and it's like, you got to run with that, guys. You cannot, you know? So eventually they did work it out where I got a refund on all the late fees that I had paid, on credits, on just a whole bunch of different things. So it totaled up to almost a full month's rent. And that was in lieu of going to court and me asking for them to give me a full year. So it's all right, it worked out. Sometimes you got to be a Karen. You have to. Okay, this keeps freezing.
Yeah, well, it's magical though. You know, you kept on, you persisted, and you held it tight. You know, you didn't lose it and all that. So you know, the application of impeccability, in other words, paid off in the end. Right? You
Yeah.
just kind of stuck with it, kept with it, kept going. Yeah.
Trusting myself. And that's why I asked. So, I mean, I thought that was a really good conversation that we had the other day where we got into the appropriate and inappropriate intolerance.
Right.
There's some things like even with just with family, with friends, with CJ, with anyone, I do agree. I think there's times when we can be a little too over tolerant, almost like overindulgent. We can just really go too far to the point where we're putting ourselves at risk. And that to me would be like getting yourself into an abusive situation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, you can be smart, set your boundaries and stick to them. But I still think it comes back to trust and belief. If you're going to believe yourself, you can't really trust these things are going to happen for you if you don't believe that they're going to. So,
Clarity of intent, right?
What's that?
It comes back, you know, what you believe is clarity of intent also. Things aren't going to happen if you don't have that clarity. Yeah. You gotta know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So trying to be, oh my goodness. I just, I'm trying to talk with you and all these messages keep popping up on Zoom. So not
On
Zoom.
Zoom?
No, not Zoom, behind it. It keeps,
Yeah.
it goes over it. So, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot. I don't want to sit here and complain. I was just trying to figure out, you know, like that whole, where do we draw a line? But I'm gonna let other people handle it this time and just keep trying to air out.
There you go. Appropriateness. And also, you know, if you attune to the overall situation, you see that, hey, you know what, you've been in their face and it's like time for somebody else to step up now, you know. So that balance of the appropriateness of the attunement to the greater situation says step back. So it's kind of obvious, you know, force of circumstance really determines it here, right?
Yeah.
Very
Well,
easy to discern.
Yeah. I took care of what I needed to, which was securing my, you know, making sure that my place was safe, at least until, you know, January.
Exactly. You know, you pushing at them helps others as well, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it does. I don't know. It's just been really, it's kind of interesting, and I have to keep asking myself. It's like none of these things are popping up one after another. This lawnmower thing has been going on for a year. The manager has even, you know, voiced her concerns about it, that they start so early. And so, you know, I think she's talked to them a couple of times, asked them to adjust their schedule a little bit, but they don't apparently want to do that. So, I don't know. I guess it's whoever is paying them. That's who they have to listen to, right?
Yeah. They probably work for a company that does golf course maintenance or something, because they start very early. Interesting. Similar.
I don't know how those guys can actually work around that equipment and not get sick.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. Guess they get used to it.
Being in a lot of fumes. That's kind of like working at a. Do you remember how the guys at the gas stations always used to I don't know how the old guys used to work at a gas station when they had the full service. People would come out and pump your gas.
Yeah.
I wonder how they used to tolerate that smell.
Yeah, yeah. People get used to anything. It's fascinating, the ability of the human being and body to adjust and acclimatize. It's absolutely fascinating.
Jeez,
Well,
yeah.
tolerance to it. Yeah. Really, really interesting. Also on the decisions, sometimes like you have a situation where you need to decide, is it up to me now to continue or not to continue, get involved, not involved, like in this case now, but just in decisions in general. If you've done your part from an impeccability point of view and now you're unsure, that's where it really pays to look to attunement in all its various forms, whether it be force of circumstance or just the flow, the pattern, the rhythm of things, the appropriateness, or for anomalies to bring you that decision. Because sometimes, especially with decisions regarding the future, we can't know. And yes, you can do research, you can prepare, you can look at all the odds and statistics and probabilities, and those mean nothing. So, especially with future decisions, looking to attunement is very much a massive, big part of it. Very big deal. Very big deal.
Okay, so attunement as it relates to tolerance and intolerance. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, as it relates to decision making, and I was just using the example of you deciding, whether to get involved or not. Just as a specific example. It doesn't necessarily always relate to that. It's just a good example of where you needed to make a decision, and you use that greater attunement to make the decision. So attunement is a marvelous mechanism for making decisions, but it's not a sort of a way out of not making decisions on your own. We need to learn to make decisions when we can, right? So it's only when it's not within our ability to make a decision, then we look to attunement. But other than that, you pretty much got to do it on your own. So that's very important to have that balance between impeccability and attunement, right? So it's like capital T trust. You can't have capital T trust without being based on the underlying impeccability.
You can't have capital T trust without what?
Without it being based on your impeccability. In other words, I've got to do everything that I can do. And then once I've done absolutely everything that I can do, my impeccability is satisfied. Well, then there's no more I can do. Now I trust. But if you just go directly to trust, well, I'm just going to trust everything's going to work out. No, that ain't going to work for you. No, that's wishful thinking and all that stuff. So that's my point here. That same thing with attunement. Attunement is exactly like trust. You're trusting the universe to give you some measure of an answer or a decision. So it works in exactly the same way, that it has to be premised on and based on impeccability.
I had the same thoughts about manifesting that occurred to me yesterday. I'm still hearing people talk about, you can manifest anything you want and all your desires, you can have all your wildest dreams come true. And it's like, if that were the case, we'd probably have a whole lot of billionaires in this world.
Exactly.
Instead of people struggling. So, it's not like somebody who's poor hasn't thought of having $1 million or $1 billion, I'm sure.
and one thing, if that was really true, sure as hell, we'd see a hell of a lot less ads, people advertising how to teach you to manifest, and in some way advertising some service that they need to get paid for when it comes to manifesting. That's always fascinated me. You can manifest, what are you charging for?
Yeah. Well, that's why I really have always appreciated your statement of don't believe me, think everything through for yourself, because oh God, there's so many snake oil, salesmen out there, especially when it comes to coaching. I've seen a lot of that. There's this one who they're having a good time blasting this guy, but he gets on there and he reminds me of a used car salesman, close to the camera and yelling and saying, you're not ever going to get coaching clients if you do these 3 things over and over. Like, holy cow, you're never going to get any business the way you're working.
Yeah. You
I
know,
don't
it's
know.
fascinating to me how people are attracted to BS, to bullshit. It's fascinating.
Oh,
Uh,
there's, yeah,
it's incredible, and they feel comfortable in it because that's what they do.
that's true. That's very true.
Birds of a feather F together, right?
Yes.
It's my variation on the statement.
Yes.
It goes back a long way for me, but it's very powerful. Yeah, I really did notice this. That that's why I say F. Obviously it's also flock, but the other F too, because they like with the bullshit. They seek what they're comfortable with, and doesn't matter that it's not going to work, that it's a mess. No, they go there. It's too fascinating. It's too fascinating. Yeah,
Somebody
I don't
brought
know.
up, who was it? Groupthink. I don't remember where that came from. Somebody brought up the term groupthink the other day. Um, and it kind of reminded me of uh, your book, and it reminded me of the conversations about the paradigm of the superiority paradigm.
Right.
Yeah, so I kind of kept wondering. It's like, isn't that where it starts? Or just people don't really want to think for themselves, and it's easier to let others do it for them. Just tell them what
Yeah,
to do.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, there's all kinds of different ways that gets started, but I see more and more and more evidence of, um, I don't know, just blind leading the blind, kind of. And
Yes, absolutely,
it just
absolutely.
really, really surprises me. And then sometimes I see it around here. I see it in traffic. If you see one person speeding, other people think that they can do it too because one hasn't gotten caught.
Yeah,
And then before
yes,
you know
yes.
it, you got everybody trying to speed till they set up speed traps again, and then everybody settles down. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Human
it,
behavior.
it, it is. It's very, very fascinating. And when we look at it through that lens again of superiority paradigm, one of the absolute critical injunctions and principles and absolute laws of superiority paradigm is don't ever, ever, ever be wrong, right? Or be seen to be wrong or admit you're wrong.
Okay.
So this is why they congregate and F together, because if everybody does it, it's not wrong.
Oh, okay. That's right. So that's funny.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't mean that fun.
Furthermore, right. If I'm in a congregation, a group, where everybody's doing similar things to me, maybe not exactly the same, but the same type of stuff, right? And they all fear saying, being wrong. They're not going to say I'm wrong because, well, then I can just point to them and say you're wrong, right? And so they avoid this, right? So now everybody basically supports each other's nonsense by
Oh,
simply not saying
okay.
you're wrong, or this is no good, or this is not acceptable, etc. It doesn't matter. But if you're going to hang out with sensible people and you do kind of really crazy stuff and nonsense and idiotic stuff, well, they might say something, or they likely will. And
Yeah.
this is also why they tend to stick together like that and follow that nonsense, because it's safe. They avoid being seen as wrong and being told they're wrong and being pointed out they're wrong.
So you can have an entire community that way.
Exactly, exactly. And you see this in, when you
Small
just go to,
town.
like, groups and talk shows and all of this. Those are all communities where everybody is reinforcing each other's nonsense.
And it's small towns. I've seen that. There was a town we lived in when I first moved to Nebraska. It was all white. And I think to this day, it's still all white. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know that such places existed. And when we moved
yeah,
there, it took me a little bit of time to figure out that I just kept feeling like something was wrong. Something felt off. And I finally asked my mother-in-law at the time, it's like, are there any people of color in this town? She's like, of color? Well, what do you mean? And I said, well, are there any blacks in the town? Are there any Asians? Are there any Hispanics? Are there any other races other than white? And she goes, why would there be?
yeah, yeah.
Why would there be? And it's like, wait, what? The entire town, yeah. So they were very, very definitely racist. If you weren't Catholic or what were the two religions there? It was Catholic and Baptist. Talk about that was really kind of interesting, but you're either Catholic or Baptist in that town. I didn't stay there very long.
Yeah.
I couldn't tolerate it. Not coming from California. We moved from California.
California is a whole other world, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point America actually breaks up and you get East Coast, West Coast, and then the rest, pretty much.
You know what? It's really kind of interesting that you say that, because if that does happen, I see it as, East, yeah, like you said, East Coast, West Coast, but the West is going to be like California on its own, Texas on its own. You might have, Arizona and a couple other states kind of, buddying up with a couple of states.
Yeah.
But then I look at the East and I'm thinking that East Coast is going to separate North between South again.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, New England, New York, that area as its own thing. Yeah, because if you go a little south, you get, Carolina and Georgia and all that, and that's a mess. And Florida, they don't fit in that again. So, but
No.
but certainly, well, California, if they are so big that they self-sufficient, food and energy and everything, so they can declare it. It's not other places can't, which is really interesting. You might think Texas would be the first one to, but Texas is so, such a mess there. They're not going to be very easy to go independent on their own. So, and a lot of the other red states, they heavily dependent on federal stuff.
Yeah.
So, but California, they probably can say, no, we've had enough of this nonsense. So, and then, Oregon and Washington will go with them, you would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that happening. They're pretty much their own little countries too,
Right. And Nevada will likely do so simply because of the economics, not necessarily because they are politically aligned. Nevada's sort of either or. It's one of those purpley states, but their economic well-being depends on California, for Vegas and Reno. So, they will definitely go just simply for the economics of it, but for the rest, like Arizona, they very much more aligned with Texas, in the thinking and the politics and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I thought Texas was poised at one point to become independent, to succeed like they wanted to, but I think, like you'd mentioned, the politics of it, I don't think that they quite had, I don't think they had strong enough leadership. I'm definitely hoping to get a different governor.
Right. And also, Texas isn't as red as they like to think. Yeah. It's not, it's always come out red, but it's not like super overwhelmingly red. There's a lot of blue in there. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. But also economically, though, California, like I said, they're about the only one that truly can do this in economic sense. So. Because you've got America's economy is the number one economy in the world, then you get China. The third largest economy in the world is California. So there's no comparison between everybody else in California. Then you get Germany, Japan, and so California is a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. Yeah.
They have they have their entertainment industry, they have their farming, then they have industry. Their
and the tech industry, exactly. So I mean, they just got it all over there.
Yeah, they have everything. They really do. And it just seems like whoever, I really loved living there, but it was no place to raise kids at the time. I don't know how much of that has changed now. I know a lot of people have been leaving from there just because of the fires and stuff, the fires in the economy. So they're going to have to fix their homeless situation for sure.
It's just fascinating how different California is. I mean, it really, really is massively different, and even Washington and Oregon, very different.
Yeah, Oh, there's
You know, most people, they don't, unless you go there, do you really realize this? You know, it's quite intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I just saying that from a little bit of a philosophy of opposite here. One,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of the red states have, you know, expressed this, obviously from Texas now, this desire to be on their own and succeed, but they can't afford to. They're not in a position to do so. Whereas California, they certainly can do it, you know, and the geography favors them also, you know, with the mountains and all that. So you
Hmm.
know, they have the coast and ports and all of this. So yeah, it's very possible.
Remind me of the philosophy of opposites again. I know we've spoken about this before, but
Yeah. Philosophy of opposite. Yeah.
it's it.
It's the concept of where you have an idea and then you go somewhere to in the planet of opposite and you move around and it gives you perspective.
Okay,
So this is the magic of it. It's not that things are exactly opposite, but somewhere more or less in the realm of opposite, you find a perspective that because the usual is the convention, and the convention is very corrupt. But the exact opposite isn't always where you want to be either. But
right.
somewhere in that, when you explore in that realm, that planet of opposite, you know, you're going to neighboring planets in this, you get really profoundly different perspectives that
Okay.
massively make a difference. And this is so useful. It's just a quick and easy way of getting to sensibility. Whenever you encounter the typical stuff of the world, you know, you just turn it upside down and look somewhere over there, and then you're going to find sensibility. It's incredible.
Okay. So that now I understand. I mean, I did before. I just for whatever reason my brain isn't tracking.
Right.
That would be an excellent tool,
Yes.
for lack of a better word, to use to basically start thinking out of the box of the superiority paradigm, basically breaking away from it.
Exactly. 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 Exactly.
Works
Exactly.
well with that. Perfect.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. You know, because here's the problem with the superiority paradigm. You're stuck in it and you're looking for sensibility. But okay, so you look at whatever you're doing, you say, nah, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. What do you end up with? You've got a whole bunch of bad choices.
Yes.
You're choosing the least worst choice. That doesn't help you. It's like, you know, I was saying to Elise with the fish and the water. You know, it doesn't matter where you go, you're still swimming in the poop water, right? Okay, it's not really a very good analogy because it's so diluted it doesn't matter. But
Mhm.
anyway, nonetheless, though, you know, for the fish to wanting to get out of the paradigm of water, it has to get right out of water itself. So it
Yeah.
has to start looking at something opposite. Now, is air and water exactly opposite? No, not really. And there's this earth and ground and, you know, trees and stuff like that. So it's somewhere in the realm of opposite. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. See, I like that. Okay, that makes more sense to me when you're saying it's somewhere in the realm of opposite. It's
Right.
not exact opposite.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
We're just looking for
Exactly.
something that's going to make sense with different
Right.
perspectives.
Right. So we're going to use opposite as simply as a jumping point, as a starting point
Right.
for profound radical shift. That's what's required.
Okay.
Profound radical shift. We need to shift the paradigm sometimes, you know. So all the options are no good. So you have to jump right out of the box. And that's why it comes really valuable. So you're saying
Okay.
not this, right? That's really what philosophy of opposites is. Not this,
Not
something
that.
else. What exactly? But not this, right? So
Not,
you could call it philosophy of different, but you know, it's so magical though, especially in conventionality and when it comes to specific things with superiority paradigm. How opposite is so easy. It's almost right there. Sometimes it is the exact opposite, but it's so close to opposite that it's very easy to find the sensibility using opposite. It's just too magical. It's really incredible. It's very
yeah.
useful tool. Yeah, very useful tool.
There's something that I don't know if Elise has gotten back with you or not, but there's
Not yet,
something.
no.
Okay, yeah, she said she wasn't sure she was going to do the wave impeccability, and it's like, okay, that's your choice. But she didn't say why. But what I do
Uh,
understand
well,
about her,
oh,
Oh, I was gonna say, what I do understand about her is she's really, really stuck in that superiority paradigm. She doesn't want to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
that that's where her thinking is because when I've given her basically unaware that I was using philosophy of opposite, given her multiple, directions. So at least think this way, I mean, try this one out, try this one out. What do you think? Let's take this path. And she always will go back to, yeah, but, and that's where it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's caught up in own opinions.
yeah.
And that's such an excellent example of where philosophy of opposite comes into it. People get
Mhm.
enamored with their own decisions, and they say, I'm stuck, I'm struggling, nothing is working, but yet they still cling to their own opinions. They don't really realize that, hey, wait a second, you know what, I've got to go right out of my opinions and start looking for something that's the opposite of opinion, or in the realm of opposite of opinion, to jump right out of it. Otherwise they just get stuck there, which is why I said, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to come and leave everything behind. Just real quick on her, if she did say that, tell her, look, you have no idea what wave impeccability is all about. You need to go back and do the Zoom session where you go through the pre-program so you can get an idea of what's involved. You can't
Mhm.
say, I'm going to do it or not do it right now. What are you going to do? What are you not going to do? You have no clue what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what are you making your decision on? It's just opinion, which is a problem.
But you just mentioned it because a few moments ago when you said that we have to take ourselves out of our own comfort zone,
Yeah,
essentially, I'm paraphrasing. So we
yeah,
have to
yeah,
step out of that comfort zone, and that is something that she hates to do. She does not like
yeah,
to stand on that line of discomfort or even think about discomfort.
yeah.
Um, Wants everything packaged and just so, and wants easy answers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And that's the thing though, if she goes through the pre-program, where I explain all about the takeaways and the repeat backs and the
yeah,
exercises and all the stuff, then I explain, and you can see, okay, it's step by step. You do this and you build up and you change, and it's a gradual, easy process. It's not like you're jumping from one thing into the other. You're not jumping into the frying pan, from the frying pan into the fire type of a deal. So
right,
it puts them at ease a bit about the discomfort, right? So
right.
it's a big
So
deal. It's a big
basically, we
deal.
have to be uncomfortable with our, I love that, with our opinions,
Yes,
with our
yes,
beliefs, with our thoughts, and that's
yes,
how we act. To me, anyways, that's how I started to really trust and believe
exactly.
myself. Um, Trust first and foremost, just because I was willing to let go of, what do you call it? Constructs, opinions, old
Yeah,
thoughts.
yeah.
And even then, I still find them creeping up.
Yes,
There's always
yes,
still come
yes,
up, and I
yes.
go, oh, okay, well, that's something I can shift. That's something I can change.
Yes, yes, they're hard
Um,
to avoid. They're hard to avoid. But here's the things like assumptions. You can't live without assumptions. Sometimes you have to make them. But we want to be aware of their limitations so that we can limit the danger involved. So same thing with opinions. Sometimes I have to have an opinion. I can't avoid it. But I want to knowingly have it as an opinion, knowing that it's not fact. That's the problem. And
okay,
same with
okay,
beliefs. People confuse the two. They start to believe their own opinions as facts or their own beliefs as facts, and then they get in trouble.
okay. Well, and
So,
and I think her her discomfort is coming in with religion.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
Historically, and this is why I was hoping she was ready, because she was saying, you know what, I'm done with this church thing. But then she changed her mind and she's like, no, I think I'm going to give them another shot. It's like, okay,
yeah.
whatever. But
Well, if it comes up again, let her know that wave impeccability isn't in opposition to religion. They can coexist. They do.
they do,
Many others are very religious and keep to their
Brian.
religion, and
Yeah.
it has boosted their religion. It's not in
Yeah.
opposition to religion.
Well, and it's actually got, like Ryan, I appreciated how he was using it to think critically about his
Exactly.
beliefs and about his faith. I thought that was amazing. What
And
a
it
wonderful.
enhanced his faith. I mean, he's deeper into his faith than he was before, but he's able to deal with it more appropriately, and he's able to overcome all the contradictions and the hypocrisy involved. So, yeah.
Yeah. And seeing for me, it helped me solidify and make that separation of basically, if you want to get, if you want to talk politics, whatever, separation
state,
of church and
yeah.
state for me, because I did not want, I just did not want to carry around that question of, well, gosh, am I not being a good person because I'm not a Christian? No.
Yeah, exactly. And when you really get down to it, all of religion is opinion.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it is.
So
Thank you.
it's not that the opinions are incorrect. We're going to go sophisticated and say, we don't care whether they're correct or not. It's about whether or not I get value out of it. What
Yeah.
difference does it make if it's true or not? I get value out of it. It's totally irrelevant. I get much value from fairy tales. And, well, as far as I know, they're not true, So, I make up stuff which I get value out of, and I've made it up. I know I've made it up. But so it's the value that counts. And this is where, religion that doesn't focus on the value they provide, because, well, they don't always provide. But they focus on it's true, it's true. And therefore you must believe it. They off on the wrong idea. And again, it's that superiority paradigm. You can't be wrong. Yeah.
Right.
So when you're okay with being wrong, then you say, well, the value, whether it's right or wrong, as in true or not true, doesn't matter. They take not true to be wrong. It's not necessarily the same thing. Something can be not true and be right. So
Yeah.
this is flawed thinking, in other words.
So
So this is what wave impeccability is. It's mechanisms of thinking.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about this in relation to superiority paradigm.
Yeah.
When we go back to the tolerance and intolerance, I'm wondering if there is ever an appropriate time to be tolerant of somebody that's stuck in their superiority paradigm thinking, their opinions, their ways. My answer to that personally would be yes, because I believe in acknowledging and accepting everyone, regardless of their opinions and beliefs.
Yes.
Of course, if they think that, their opinion is that I need to die and die right now, well, then no, I'm not going to tolerate that.
Right. It's always comes back down to appropriateness, right? So, everything is appropriate in a particular context. The worst thing is good for something, yes?
It's contextual. Okay, good.
Right. I mean, the worst thing, you say, well, what is the worst thing in the world good for? Well, it's a good, bad example.
Okay. All right. I like that.
So everything is in some particular context, it's appropriate. Right.
Well, it is actually.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Okay. Now that I think about that, yeah, it is. It is. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I understand that a little bit better now, because I don't know why, but sometimes I had in my head that philosophy opposite was supposed to be exactly opposite. It's where we're looking.
Oh, no.
Part of perspective shifting, and it's like, well, no, it develops perspectives. It gives you a room, a range of them. So
right, and that's why it's opposite singular, and because it's the conception of opposite, which is not, when you really delve into opposite, so many things we call opposites, but they aren't actually true opposites, right? So that's why it's a vague, but opposites would be the typical opposites, black, white, all this kind of stuff, right? The usual, long, short, stuff like that, stuff that is more definitively opposite. But yeah, so it's opposite singular as the concept, not as the preciseness of it. So it's more or less, yeah. And it's just that you could say, okay, philosophy of difference. But the reason why I said is philosophy of opposite and not philosophy of difference, because when you inside the paradigm, like the fish, philosophy of difference is, well, okay, I'm going to find different water. Maybe I'm going to go in the current or the not current, or clearer water or murkier water or whatever. It's still part of the paradigm. You need to, and so they get stuck in that, right? Okay, the murky water and clear water are very different. But it doesn't get you out of what you need to be out of. So when you look at opposite, it really puts you into a radical position. Okay, so well, for instance, a good one that you could take is, you must follow religion. right?
Right.
So the opposite is, well, I must not. Okay, but then we say, well, it doesn't exactly 100% so. So okay, so a little bit and not all of it. So in other words, I've got to decide how much or how not. So right there, I've got my freedom now, just in that one magical, simple thing, right? So
Okay.
it's just and the reason too is just for people to get their brains to start thinking in completely alternative ways. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that too, right? As you
Yeah.
make this a habit, you can make those jumps. I know people and I grew up with people who absolutely were unable to even consider and conceive of this idea of not following religion, not being obedient to what your religion said.
Yes, I know.
Impossible for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. See, and then I've been accused multiple times of, oh, you don't believe in God. And it's like, no, I never said that. I have never said that I don't believe in God. I just do not buy into doctrine. I don't buy into religion. I don't buy into separate, Catholic, Baptist, Presbyterian, whatever.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
but I
And
never said that I don't believe in God, and I don't know that God is a man or a woman. I don't even know that God
exactly,
is.
exactly. This whole idea, oh, but you don't believe in God. What do you mean by believe in the first place? And
Yeah.
secondly, what do you mean by God? The statement is absolutely absurd because I apply philosophy of opposite to that, and I start saying, well, what do you mean by God? Wow, you get a whole range of stuff, and it covers the entire spectrum of opposite. Secondly,
Yeah.
when you say believe, you mean I have to just buy what you say?
Yes, that's the
So
thing. It's like,
you
no,
see, I have to accept it as a fact when it's not a proven fact. The very fact that you say believe in God means it's not a fact. That's what believe means. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So the whole notion, but again, because their thinking is so narrow, so tight, they never consider that what they say inherently is problematic. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
And they never check. I checked as a kid. I went and asked people, "What do you think God means?" And, initially they would all say what the church said they must say, but then,
yeah,
but you personally, what do you think, and how does it work for you? And of course, it turns out they all had a different idea in some way or another. It was all over the show. So it's very fascinating. But
yeah.
they assumed everybody believed what they believed because they never ever bothered to check. It's fascinating. They just never bothered to check. Just the arrogance of it. It's
Okay,
fascinating.
and it's the same with well, it's the same with beliefs all the way across the board, with politics, with business, with all of it.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
and that all comes back to the superiority paradigm, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. The superiority paradigm is just an easy mechanism because it's a paradigm. Once you understand it, you have uh, um, a key that allows you to unlock what you see, to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
An
Okay.
interpretation key, and this is massively valuable and powerful. Right? When you see, all your bluster and stuff, all you're looking to do is just be a little better than the guy next to you and push them down so you look better by comparison. All you're doing is you're trying to avoid looking wrong or all this stuff, right? It all makes sense. You see the underlying motivations. And when you look at it, especially in the context of winning, you really see how winning is, I call it stupid winning. Yeah. How it's just a horrible philosophy. It's
This
a
is interesting.
terrible, terrible, terrible philosophy because the idea of winning is it's relative betterness. Yes,
Okay.
that's what winning is. I mean, we compete in something, and whoever wins is relatively better. Now you're feeling good, but you're not feeling good because you've actually accomplished something that has inherent value. You've simply got something that's less bad, maybe, than somebody else. It's not inherently excellent, as opposed to where you both pursue excellence, right? And you don't care about winning. Now it's a whole different deal. Or you may even compete, but you're competing for the point of furthering your abilities and pushing your boundaries, etc., etc. And you don't care who wins. You're just using that competitiveness to further you. Very, very different experience.
It
When
is
people
very
get stuck on winning, go ahead.
I said it is very different, and I've never heard this perspective on winning before. This is fascinating.
Oh, yeah, it's totally fascinating. And so when people are focused on winning, of course, and where losing becomes the worst thing ever. You cannot ever possibly lose. If you're a loser, then life is just crap. Everything is terrible, and you're hopeless, and there's just no good to it, right? So they start to look for easy victories. I literally know people who would play, games like Monopoly or whatever with like toddlers just so they could win. And they would do their little happy dance, that celebration dance of winning. I'm
Yeah.
like, seriously, you're playing with little kids? They don't know what the hell the game even. Oh, but I won. I had this, the absolute height of ridiculous with this was one day in one of my stores, the employee comes in and still picture his face. And he was over the moon excited and happy and like, man, this was like a big deal. I won. I thought, man, this guy's won the lottery. And that was the intensity of it, right? So everybody comes, oh, what did you win? Oh, I won my auction on eBay. You
On
see, dude.
eBay.
So I said, in other words, you just overpaid the most. And
Yeah.
no matter what I said, I couldn't pop bubble. Yeah, but I won. It didn't matter that he had overpaid for whatever it was. Yeah, but I won. Man, this is just too astonishing, right?
Oh, that's
And of
funny.
course, he ended up stealing stuff. So that's the same logic. See, when they get winning, stupid winning. If you steal something, you like putting one over something. I'm getting something. It's like winning over you, but you've got to win. Morality and ethics goes out the window. And with this winning philosophy, it's like winning is everything. It doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. And they become totally unethical and criminal. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Oh my goodness. But I'd never really given that thought of that competing. Of course, I knew that competing was to, increase and develop skills. That's the purpose of it. But I'd never really thought about winning is not having a game. It really doesn't, I mean,
And so, so when it comes to competition, we can use competition, but we have to be very, very careful. I was a sailing prodigy in the middle town, right? When I was a kid, from about age 11 till 16. And
Okay.
I competed against the adults and I beat all the adults and that's it. And so, I'm this wonder kid sailor, but I'm a tiny little fish in an even tiny little pond. I realized that, the competition was very limited and that didn't make it something special. It wasn't that big a deal, right? So, and I was acutely aware of this. So to me, all right, so I'm winning, but so what? I'm winning against dreadful competition. They just didn't make any effort really. They didn't understand what they were doing. They were really kind of clueless for the most part. Some a little less so than others, but I really made an effort to study the things. I understood what was going on. All right, but relative to, nationwide or internationally, yes, I was a good sailor still, but doesn't matter. I'm still not, this be all end all champion. So I was or at least I made myself very clearly aware that I can't go around being all huff and puff about this, even though in the little town it was a big deal, it was in the newspapers, all this crap. It's like, come on, really, you're not seeing the bigger picture here. So relative winning is an easy trap. So for me, I pursued excellence, and like, I wanted to do the thing as best I can. Didn't matter, beating the other guys wasn't important. I looked to get around the course in the quickest possible time. See, there's a different logic now, a different sensibility. So we can, and even in competition, like, if you're playing tennis against somebody or that, you can use it to stretch your boundaries of what you've done. It's like, wow, I was able to make shots I couldn't make before, and so on and so forth. And you helped me, you pressed me, so we can push each other into moreness through competition.
Okay.
The focus needs to be on learning and growth and excellence rather than on winning. I always, whenever I played squash or tennis or any of those type of games, table tennis, whatever, for me, I enjoyed losing to somebody better much more than I enjoyed winning over somebody crap. That was no fun for me, none whatsoever. It's like, it's pointless. So I always I sought to actually lose. I gave it my best to try and win against somebody substantially better than me. Never succeeded, of course, because they were in a different league. But this was a very magical way for me to improve my skills. It's because I was focused on learning, growing, and excellence. It's a very different focus rather than winning. Winning can easily trap you into a false confidence. In other words,
My parents, no, I'm not even going to say parents because my father at that time, he really could have cared less. My stepmom, though,
Yeah.
my sister and I were in Girl Scouts, and she, Girl Scouts always sell their cookies once a year, right?
yes, yes,
My sister she would, it just seemed like sell boxes and boxes and boxes of cookies. She would always fill up her whole first order sheet and then sell another, do another sheet. And I would struggle to sell 5 boxes. I just would. And so it was always made a great big deal that the difference between us that, look at your sister, she always gets her badges. She always sells her cookies. She always does this, she does that. And she's athletic and she's this and she's that. So pretty much, I mean, yeah, going back to, we were in many ways, we weren't supposed to be competing. We were supposed to be selling together. And it just seemed like, I don't know, I started thinking less and less and less of myself at that time. And it kept on going. And then when I did something and do something that I was really feeling proud of myself at, of course, she had to go and do it too. Taking away my little bit of thunder that I did have for, achieving something. So this goes back to the drawing. There was, and this is something that came to me a couple of days ago. The one thing that she was not good at was drawing at all. And I don't know why. It was just maybe she didn't enjoy it or whatever. But my art teacher, she gave us a project. We had to just do whatever project we wanted to, but it had to include a certain theme and it had to be, there were all these parameters. So what I chose to do with my art project was to paint a mural, but it was in my bedroom. And since my mom didn't want me painting on the wall, I taped butcher paper to the wall of my bedroom. And I filled the entire bedroom wall with, on this paper, I painted this mural of just, where I wanted to be. And it was just this whole magical land that I had created.
Wow.
It was painted, it was drawn. I used all kinds of mediums. And of course, since it was so large, I was so honored because my art teacher, she actually had to come to my house to see it on my wall.
Wow. Wow.
And my sister, of course, she got upset with me and she started marking on it and she ripped it a couple of times and then eventually it came down. But it was one of those things that was like, I was really, really proud of that accomplishment. And I did get an A for the project. And what I was told by my stepmom and my sister was, well, she could have done better.
I know, that killed it for me. I always did very well at school in class, was either, the top or the second or third or whatever, and I wasn't really looking to be the top. I was just doing whatever it was and it came out and it was good. One day I come home and I get, they graded in percentages, right? So for the term overall, okay, in math, they give you percentages and so on, what you succeed, the test scores, right? In all of that, but overall, and it was also percentage. So overall, it was 92%.
Wow.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, seriously, but you can do better. So this was for my parents, right? They were still together then. So, but you can do better. I'm like, well, to hell with you. What's the point here? At what point are you going to be satisfied? It's just pointless. I mean, if you can't see 92% to be good, I'm wasting my time here. So then I just lost interest. So their whole idea of motivation backfired completely. Maybe where philosophy of opposite got its roots, I don't know, but and then after that, I just did enough to keep me going. I was always a C+ student. I put the minimal effort into it, and that was it. So it's like, what? There's no point to it.
Yeah. I just, it was one of those things that I was always just super, super proud of that. So what I did later on as an adult, one of my kids had a issue with like drawing on walls because you know what? A wall is begging to have color, right?
Yes, I know somebody used to draw on the walls. Abina will tell a story about this in a minute. So
Because it was, it's a wide open slate. So, and I understood this about my kid. I was just like, okay, I get it. So I decided, fine, I'm going to tape paper on the wall and let him color on that. It was cool. He liked it for a little while, but then he started seeing other walls that needed color as well. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I'm encouraging him to draw on the walls, and
yeah,
we had a battle with it a little bit, but
yeah. Could you not get markers that were easy to clean?
well, they didn't have those then.
Ah, right.
Yeah, that was back in the what, 70s, 80s? No, they didn't have those yet.
Yeah, those weren't easy. They weren't a thing. Yeah, they weren't a thing.
No. Nope.
Beena used to do the same thing, right, Beena? You still there? Beena?
Yes,
Did
yes.
did you color on your wall?
I I was a big troublemaker for my parents because I love stickers because I was in love with comics. So we had a cupboard in our room, me and my brother. We actually covered the whole cupboard, a big, huge 7 feet tall cupboard. We just covered it with the stickers because that was our treasure. And then when I didn't had any place, I started putting on myself, like on my legs, all the stickers because I love that. and 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 making pictorial stories on wall.
Oh my goodness.
That
And you
was
wrote your name all over the walls
and
too.
yes, and writing my name on everything, every possible surface you can imagine. I used to write my name and make my pictorial stories. If not possible, then just faces. Okay.
Yeah.
So, of course, my parents were not really mean people or really rude people. So they were just trying to tell me that, Beena, that it looks very messy. Don't do this, and try to take my pencils away. Then I use my hairpins or clips
Oh,
to actually engrave those stories on my.
I will
And
not be stopped.
my father's briefcase, his files, my mother's dresses, her scarves, everything, everything. You cannot imagine where I haven't draw anything myself on my legs, stories on my
Was it,
arms.
so did you ever come up with why you were doing that? I mean, was it just a passion that you had, or was it?
It was like, okay, it was like almost an automatic thing. It was like, okay, I don't know anything other than just to draw. Like it was like for me, I was unable to understand that why they are saying that don't do this.
Yeah.
Now I understand that. Now, because writing my name along with that too was also an obsession. So it was an identity because
Yes.
I was not giving up to actually claim my unique self. Everybody is unique. We all are. And
Yeah.
I was struggling. I was not fitting in, though I tried my best, but I was not feeling that I perfectly fitting in that environment or whatever I wanted to do. So that was, I was aware at that time even. So that was my claiming of my identity myself. So I was writing my name everywhere. It was not an ego thing because I was not showing to anyone. I was just writing very tiny little or okay, whatever. So that was something now I understand. But at that time, it was just this that like, duh, what else? Other than that, what else?
Yep. My
So yeah.
I was gonna say, no, I get what you're saying about the identity part. My son went through that, the one who was coloring on the walls.
Yes.
He was he was the youngest boy, but not the youngest child.
Okay.
My daughter Jessica was just a few months,
Okay.
15 months younger. But he
Okay.
went through the same identity thing, and he engraved using a weed trimmer, a yard trimmer. He engraved that in the ground in the yard. He put his name, And it didn't write it all he didn't write it all in one line. No, he put Jeff dash and then REY underneath it because he felt like it needed to be pronounced, you know? It took a long time for that to grow in, and he was so proud of that. Of course, his stepdad was not. He wasn't amused, but I'm just like, you know what? It's grass. It's going to grow. And, you know, who cares? The yard is all weeds anyways, you know?
Yes. Yes.
I-
But for me, I think that, and because I saw in other children also, when this kind of obsession or passion in that, it is almost like an automatic reaction they have. Their
Yeah.
hand just start moving.
Oh,
Because I was making sure that okay, I will always have something like chalks or charcoal or pencils or markers. If not, then my clips,
yeah.
my hairpins. So
My-
yeah, so
And
it means
now
that
you can
okay, it
do
is
it.
like an automatic reaction. Yes.
I said, now you can do it. Now you can paint anywhere you want to, right?
Oh yes, I'm doing this. I'm doing it. Still, I'm doing it. I'm loving it. I'm
I
loving it.
recommended to Beena that she gets that. There's a special paint you get that you can write on and to paint the wall with that. And then it's just very easy to clean. So you have this constant working board to do. Still something I recommend you do. Beena never quite got there, but
Yes, because it's a huge resistance in me because I cannot tolerate something ugly in my room. So this
Yes,
is
I
something
did.
I'm constantly trying to overcome. One by one, I'm doing a lot of things. Still, you know those
yeah, I tell
stories,
you,
those
yeah,
concepts,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
it will come. It will come
Oh yeah,
soon.
oh yeah, it will come. It'll come. Maybe when you guys move in the new room, you know,
Yes,
then
yes,
since it's likely going to get painted anyway, that would be the time to say
yes.
to get that done.
When yes, when you were talking about this that winning thing, and I was trying to understand that what is the psychology behind that, why we feel so good when we win, because uh, the word itself means that something we strive for, something we go through some struggle, we put some effort, and that doing something really putting ourselves in trouble and going through struggle and efforts and all these things, it makes us feel worthy. That's why winning is a very psychological effect on our mind, that because I did something, that's why I received something. So
Yeah.
going through that struggles and all these things, we feel like a hero.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I can resonate with that. Just because
Yes.
the things that you know, I've had to just financially face and figure out on my own in the last couple of months. You know, how to approach things, how to be diplomatic, how to ask for what I need. And most people would just go, really, you find that a challenge, you know, asking for what you need? And it's like, well, yeah, I do. So when I did,
Yes.
and I did ask and I did receive, that's really, that does feel like you have won. But not won over anything else or anybody else. To me, it felt like winning against pressure, winning against
Yes.
winning against like something was trying to hold me back. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yesterday, I was in a situation where I was feeling like a loser because someone just said something. Okay, that was not really mean or rude, but yes, I could feel that energy. That was the problem, that I was feeling that energy even before someone made a comment about something.
Yes,
So I
very funny.
was, I was literally in really, I was thinking that, okay, if that person would be in front of me, I would love to punch on their face. And I was like, really? And Sil was saying that, Beena, what's going on? And I said, because they assume that I don't understand, or they have, because they have experience. There, actually, I was really feeling discrimination also, that because they mentioned something about their experience or something. And I was like, okay, this is not the case, because now you are putting something on age difference, that because you have spent so many years on this planet Earth, it means kind of in your opinion that you have more experience, which is not the case, because you don't know that how many years or how many hours of your day you were actually not in your senses,
yeah,
you were not conscious. So you cannot just measure something because you spend so many years, you are experienced. No, it's about the value, how much valuable time, how much impeccable time you have spent, and you earn experiences through that. But I was feeling discriminated, and my winning mindset, my ego was pushing me to say something, and
Well,
then still says, Beena, but it's a noble justice. I said, okay, I will choose someone else to be noble with. I don't want to. And I
Well,
accept that my ego is pushing me. Really, my everything. I was understanding that my metabolism is just not exactly as there. So I have more hormonal rush and all these things. And I was like, yes, 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 Beena, I understand. But still, I still want to punch them.
yes, I hear you. I hear
So and I said, yes, I'm acknowledging my ego. Yes, I feel right. I feel
Yeah.
absolutely right that, okay, they deserve this and all that. I didn't do anything. If Sil would not be here, I might react, being aware that I'm going to react, not a response. But still, that heat of the moment was not allowing me to just go, because I was feeling like I'm a loser. I'm hiding my face.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was, oh my God, that was horrible to actually let it go, Sure, yesterday.
I can
But
imagine. I can imagine.
yes, and I was like, no, still no. And so Sabina, this is going to just exaggerate or accelerate the situation, and you are going to be in that situation. I said, no, I can show them that where they are. I was
the
overconfident in
fantasy.
that sense. I was literally feeling overconfident in that moments that, okay, I can show them and all that. But what I learned about that yes, something about acknowledging. When I was acknowledging doesn't only mean that, okay, yes, Beena, Beena, I know that you are feeling angry, you are feeling upset, you are on right side and all that. Acknowledging is also that yes, this is my ego is talking. I
Yes,
know that.
yes,
Okay, and I let my ego talk a bit. Okay, this is my old wounds of discrimination in some way is still not healed completely, and they are opening up again. And maybe there is something IQ in an inappropriate way,
Yeah.
that, okay, yes, I am a bit naive little girl and all that, so I was doing it wrong, all those things. So acknowledgement is not only that yes, I am angry and I'm going to acknowledge that this is my right to acknowledge that this is my anger. No, it was
yes,
also that yes, it's an ego driven thing, it's an ego nonsense. Yes, I'm feeling that superiority paradigm being in play, but I was also part of it. I was also feeling that, okay, yes, this is not right. She is if I will not respond, she or he will be in their superiority paradigm and they will feel good about themselves, and I was not feeling good about this. So the acknowledgement was really thorough yesterday. I acknowledge everything, not only that yes, these are my feeling and I'm going to just say whatever in coming in my mouth. So that was a real process, and I was feeling good about later on, like, okay, yes, okay, whatever.
But you know what, though? You said something really interesting too, and it's something I believe in, which is it. Number one, it's very hard to set our ego to the left or the right. It really is.
Yes, yes.
It's extremely hard, and I'm sure Sil does it without even thinking about it. But I can't. I got to think on it. So it's amazing too, though, because there's so many times I feel like even though my ego does get in front of me, I'm
Yes,
glad that I let my ego talk sometimes, because then I can see, number one,
Yes.
like you said, what we need to acknowledge and where I need to accept and where I can,
exactly,
basically elevate myself.
exactly.
So it's okay, I think, to let I'm just with you. I'm with you on what you're experiencing, but it's okay to let our ego sometimes talk, because we do. Otherwise, I feel like if we repress it all the time,
Yes.
We're gonna bust.
Right. And here we come to the power of art. And it is precisely for this that I was recommending when you feel something strongly painted, it gives
Okay.
you an opportunity to vent, and venting is very, very critical. But
Oh.
venting is a different thing to acting, right?
So that's why you were saying you draw even the negative stuff.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Draw it all, and write a story like Beena was saying the other day on the when we did the when we were all together, right? She was saying that, I think it was there where you were saying, at least saying that in my stories, I can get to be something else that I'm not usually. And Cheryl was saying, yeah, but that means you are actually a bit wild. So expressing ourselves is very, very powerful. It gives us perspective on ourselves. Even if that expression is, now we get a philosophy of opposite, even if it's very opposite to what you want to be, who you really are. Look what Beena was saying yesterday. It's very opposite to Beena. But this gives you the power of perspective. The trick is just to have power pause so that you don't act on that. So this is the key. But yeah,
Well,
expressing ourselves is very, very powerful. Doesn't matter what you express, give you perspective.
react versus respond. Yeah, that's an important point. That's something that I'm still working on, reacting versus responding, but it's getting a whole lot better. So I will say that, um, it's getting easier. Just,
So
golly,
to
I completely resonate with where you were.
magical, and to use that expression, use it in your art, whether it be writing or dance or painting, doesn't matter. Use it, because that's what makes good art, is that passion, that energy of emotion. This is what is really intrinsic to art, to feel that. And this is how we can get that experience of something that we cannot necessarily experience in actuality. So vicarious experience, in other words, even if it's from yourself, is very, very important. Very, very, very important. Very
I haven't,
profound. Big deal.
I know I haven't, drawn in a couple of, oh gosh, probably well over a week now. But no, I know why.
No. There's never a pressure. Never a
I
pressure.
have been
Never
detached. The reason I've been detached is just because I'm trying to. I had a very difficult scare with my daughter. She wound up in the hospital. I mean, extremely ill. She's been battling cancer for 2 years, right? And so she's back on chemo and radiation, or she was. And this last round of chemo and radiation was tearing up the insides of her body. Her intestines and her colon were bleeding. So she was bleeding internally and wound up in the hospital because of this. And here's CJ and I on pins and needles, trying not to get on each other's nerves, but then, still in that ego mindset of fear, you know, um, not afraid that, oh gosh, what happens if she dies, but how are we going to be when this happens? Because they had to take her off of everything, all of her meds, everything. And she's just going to ride it out. There's nothing they can do. So we have to come to grips with that. So both of us, honestly, I completely detached.
There you go.
Wow. I had to, just to get through this, I don't want to call it a crisis, but this very scary time.
Exactly.
So I was like, how does a person draw detachment? And you know what I kept coming up with?
Wow.
A blank page. And I was going to take a picture of it and send you a blank page and say, here's what I've drawn. And I was going to tell you, this is me detaching. Because I don't know how else to describe. There is no energy. There is an energy, but you move yourself away from it. So instead, what I've been doing is focusing on breathing, just telling myself and leaning into trust and leaning into believing that no matter what, I've learned there is always an outcome. We may not always like it, but there's still always an outcome. So we have to trust then that means everything, the world, me, whomever, is still going to continue. So I have to trust that. And I have to trust that she's doing what she believes is best, which is, when they recommended she come off of chemo and radiation, she's like, well, what's that going to mean? And they're like, it means the tumors come back, the cancer gets aggressive, and well, ultimately, she passes. Okay. It's a whole lot shorter of life than what I would have wanted for her. But at the same time, why not have life? Why not have life in a way where she's not so sick all the time?
Exactly.
I think it's just important for her. So she's going through a detox right now where they're trying to flush out her system, and just make it so that she's, as comfortable as possible. That way she can be at home, and, she's on a specialized diet right now. They're having to do, what do you call it? I don't remember the term of it, but it's not eating. She doesn't get her food through her mouth now. It comes in through a tube. It's just, various different vitamins and everything else. So she's learning how to do that, because her stomach just can't tolerate it anymore. Yeah. I just like, so I detached.
Yeah, that's appropriate. That's absolutely appropriate. Yeah.
Just completely detached. So, so drawing, I really wanted to draw, but I was like, I don't feel anything to draw.
Good.
Did I do anything? I know that there was one day I think I was playing around with some stuff, and Beena, have you ever thrown anything away that you've drawn?
After the birds one, sorry, I'm not getting the question.
No, ever. Did you ever throw it away after you drew it?
Oh, so many things.
Okay.
So
good.
many things.
So,
I used to write a diary regularly from my childhood, like
Yeah.
regularly. And I had stories, I had some poetry, and my drawings. A lot of stuff. I actually burned a whole big, huge pile. And then I burned it. And I said, okay, so now a new life. And it was, for me, it was all junk at that time, and it was haunting because I wrote down a lot of things into that, my whole experience of my father's death and all that. And then at some day, I don't know, I think now 6 7 years back, I just collect everything, every single piece of it, and then I burned it.
Yeah, I've thrown a few things away. I have, but I tried to do some things, and when they don't come out for me, then I just know, because I always go back to what Sol says, don't draw it unless you feel it. But then when I do feel it and I try and draw something, it still comes out like yuck. So then I get kind of
It
frustrated.
actually feels very good after that.
Yeah.
You practice your power, your authority, that you
Yeah.
can draw, you can create something, and you can actually destroy and completely eliminate that. So it's a power application. Actually, you feel your power, you feel your control over your life, over your things, and you
There
feel
you
good. At least for me, I feel good about that.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, there's that is one of the few, that's actually kind of a cool analogy, because that's the one way we do have some control over ourselves, over
Yes.
what happens to us.
Exactly.
We really
Exactly.
do. Yeah, we really do. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so anyway, yeah, with they must be going out for a walk. Okay. I have new neighbors now. I have to get used to the door opening and closing.
I see. So the troublesome neighbors went away, or?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
They all
Good.
moved. Yep, they moved. Yeah, so now I'm the old person on the block, basically.
Wow. You're the
It-
veteran. The veteran.
Yeah, status now, right?
One thing I think that Donna mentioned, that they used to have in some past years, they had this cord cutting ceremony they actually have that ceremony where they cut the cords with some specific memories or person or incidents in their life, and then they move on to actually move on from something and disconnect or detach, as you were saying, so
Yeah.
that they used to have a very specific ceremony for that.
Wow.
Yes, so I think that ask Donna if she could share with you. So that was something really interesting, because when she mentioned that, and I asked her so many questions, how to do this and all that, and then I did. For one thing in my life, I actually did, and after that, I never feel that same emotional connection to that specific memory.
That's really cool.
Yes. So it's
That
all
is,
about setting your intent and
Wow.
completely involve and immerse into that. So that cord cutting ceremony for me was actually just making sure that your intent is clear and
yeah.
setting your intent and then do this. So it works. It works for me. Yes.
Oh,
So it's what I was recommending whenever you're clearing out something. Clear out abstract things, clear out conceptions, moods, energies. When you
okay.
throw that out, associate it with that, and now it becomes that same ceremony. So yeah, same thing.
That's really cool though.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really thought of it in that way.
yeah.
To me, it's like when I journal it and when I write it down, it feels better. It's like it's gone. If I just hold it in my thoughts and in my head and don't do anything with it, then it just stays there and festers.
Yeah.
So, um, holy cow. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask her about that.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah. But make
Okay.
up your own ceremonies. That's it. It's just a power of association. That's the magic of it. Yeah. So,
Well,
you're creating a rigmarole emphasis, which is what ceremony is, and you emphasizing letting go. And when you literally burn whatever it is, it goes up in smoke, or you throw it in the river and it drifts away in ashes, or whatever it is. It's a ceremony that, through association and emphasis, gives closure and
I did
changes the
that.
brain.
Yeah, I did that with my it sounds strange, but I did that with my wedding ring. Because
Ah,
yeah, I did that when we went out to California. We did kind of a little ceremony out there on the mountain, and I'm not a sports person. So, anyways, I had intended to throw my ring, out into the canyon, and it went maybe like 3 feet into a bush. I was just like, well, okay.
I love that. I'm just picturing the meme, this great big canyon,
Yeah,
and you throw and whoop, it goes into the little bush right on the edge of the Grand Canyon there. It's like, oops,
yep,
I
there's
love that. I love that. That's
still
brilliant.
sitting there. Still sitting there. Now I have Larry's wedding ring still, but mine, I was like, because the whole thing, the idea, of course, was to, basically break that
Yeah,
idea that, I'm still so tied to him. And,
yeah,
and it's like the memory is there,
yeah,
now, but I don't have that, I just don't have that deep ache of, oh my gosh,
yeah, yeah,
it's just not there.
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it's still sitting in a bush out there somewhere.
Fantastic. I love that you left it in the bush. That is just, to me, this is brilliant. This is too awesome. Because you achieved your aim. You achieved your aim. It's about the letting go. It's like, man,
Yeah,
this is too fantastic. I absolutely love
yeah,
that. Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, there was some other stories surrounding that whole thing too. We were supposed to have brought Larry with us, in his ashes to
Yeah.
California. And no, I got halfway, I was almost to Arizona when I hit the brakes on the car and I was talking on the phone to Rex and to Erica both. I hit the brakes and I pulled over and I just started laughing. And the two of them were like, Sherry, you okay? Is everything all right? And I'm like, no. I said, Larry's in the trunk. And they going, what? And I said, no, you don't understand. He's in the trunk in my closet at home. I forgot him. So we
Wow.
went home. So he didn't get to go because we were going to spread his ashes out there out in California. And yeah. So I separated from the ring instead of the ashes. And
There you go. There you go.
So
There you
yeah,
go.
there was a standing joke for the longest time that he was, in the trunk in the closet. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I still have them. I just don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do.
You don't have to do anything with them. You can just forget about them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still have them. They're just kind of put away. It's like, all right,
Wonderful,
I don't know,
wonderful,
you know,
wonderful, wonderful,
one of these
wonderful.
days I'll
So
find some place to leave them. So
exactly. Again, this is where our power conceptions come in. When we understand the conceptions of association and emphasis, we're reassociating, we're relabeling, and we're emphasizing something new, something different. Very simple. So you
yes,
make up a ceremony, a ritual, and you use these mechanisms, you get all into it, and therefore you change. It's very, very powerful. When you understand the underlying mechanism, it becomes really simple to do. And even more powerful because you do understand the underlying conceptions involved. Very, very useful.
do you think
Very,
it's
very.
something with housewarming, like when people move in and they sage their house and,
Yeah.
they got all those wife tales about you don't bring a new broom into a new home or an old broom into a new home. You ever heard that one?
Oh.
Maybe Beena has. When you
No,
move
I
in,
never
Yes.
heard that one.
yeah, when you
Uh,
move to a new place, you don't bring an old broom into a new home.
An old broom or an old groom?
Old broom.
Oh, broom.
yes,
Oh.
yes, things like that. That
I've heard.
no
You said
broom,
broom.
no old dustbins, and people do avoid broken things also. That okay, no more broken stuff there.
Right.
Some people in Eastern world they do bring three things. Okay, Hindus they bring Gita, Muslims they bring Quran, and salt, and any silver coin, and um, and
Beautiful.
water and water. Yes. So before moving in, they put these things at least 24 hours before, and then they all those things they just donated.
Oh my
So
goodness, I love that though.
yes,
I really, really like that. Yeah, that
yes,
really had never heard the tale about never bringing old, dustpans and bins and brooms into a new home. Because
yes,
you're
because
not why I was adamant. It's like he brought one that when we moved into our new house, he brought one in, and I'm like, get that out of here. Like, they're like, no, 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 don't, just get it out of here. Can't do that.
astrologically these things belongs to Saturn, so people say that keeping your Saturn old Saturn things belongings, you actually just bringing that resisting energy,
Yeah,
negative energy. So instead of taking that, these are not very expensive things, so just change it, that's it. So
yeah, yeah. Well, like new curtains, I
yeah.
always thought new curtains were just because people wanted something different. But there's something to be said about that though. I mean, just don't I like that. Don't bring the broken things into the new home. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
It's emphasizing to start afresh and
Yes.
to reset your standards and things like that. We get acclimatized to things and you start accepting things because of necessity. But, if it's
Okay.
new, it's like, okay, raise
Yes,
those
and for
standards
me,
once
it
again.
is also about details, and details are associations. So when we actually do something like okay, this tiny detail that okay, we are not having the old dustbin. What dustbin actually carries junk and old discarded things and waste.
Wow.
So we are starting fresh. So no more old things. So it is just creating new associations. Also, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yes, I like
Wow.
that. I just wrote that down, the new association. I never really thought about that before. So that's
Yes.
cool. Okay, I should probably let you guys go. I've got to get CJ going. He's had it's already 10:38 and he's not up yet. Okay. He had a
Mm.
long weekend. That boy swam and played and ran. And then we went to see Thor last night. So he told me last night before he went to bed, he's like, I'm not doing anything tomorrow. Little run out.
Wow. Deal. Good deal.
Yes. Okay, sure.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Talk
Wonderful,
to you guys
Cheryl.
soon.
Wonderful, wonderful,
Bye
Cheryl.
for
Bye-bye.
now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye. 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 Wonderful.